Okay, moving on to our special mentions. This is not honorary mentions where like they didn't make the cut. No, this is special mentions because these two games we had interesting experiences at both of these booths. Let's start out with Doomtrooper. And this is one that I'm going to talk about. This is probably going to be a relatively long section of the podcast. Um,
Just a heads up.
yeah, because I loved this game. And not only did I love this game, I loved the developers and the team around this game. They were super cool. And I imagine that they're probably going to watch at least this clip of the podcast. I don't know if they're going to watch the entire podcast itself. But
They might. If you send it to them, they might.
let's talk Doom Trooper. Because this is a card game that was I don't know. I don't know what time period this card game was from, but I'm going to go ahead and say I'm not a card game guy. Kayla,
No, you're not. I am.
Kayla likes card games.
I love card games.
Flared kind of likes card games. Flared likes, I believe Flared has gotten into Hearthstone before. I don't like Hearthstone. I don't like card games. I am not interested in card games. I like this game. It is a fun game. It reminds me kind of like a Yu-Gi-Oh style game almost. I don't really know it's its own game. That's what it is. It's its own card game and I like it. So we actually visited this booth all 3 days. So the
Yes,
first
we
day we
did.
went, we sat down and me and Flared, we kind of just hopped down at this booth and we were like, we're going to play, skip all the tutorials. It's a
Of
card
course.
game. How bad?
Tutorial. Why would you watch the tutorial and learn how to play the game?
I have no idea what kind of a loser would watch the tutorial.
Me.
And
I would watch the tutorial. I am that loser.
yeah, you're that kind of person. Anyway, I'm not that kind of person, okay? So we both blow past the tutorial and we're trying to figure out neither one of us can figure out how to play the game, right?
No, not even close.
So finally the developer, who his name is Justin, and the developer's brother, I don't remember
Tyler.
his name. Tyler? That was his
Tyler.
name?
His name was Tyler.
Okay, so Tyler comes over and Tyler's helping Flair. Justin comes over. He's the developer of the game, the actual creator of the game. He comes over and he is they're both helping us play the game. And we get through the demo and we're like, "Hey, yeah, that's a cool game. That's interesting. We would like to check it out." And then Justin goes, "Hey, would you guys actually like to play against each other? Like, I can set these computers up and y'all can go against each other." Now, meanwhile, me and Flair were talking smack the entire time.
Yes.
Even though
All
we
of
were
the
playing
smack talk was going down.
even though we were playing the demo and we weren't even playing each other, I was like, "Yo, dog, I'm beating you at the demo," and stuff like that. So they were like, "Look, if you want to go against each other, we can set it up." Well, they tried to set it up for us the first day. Turns out they had some type of technical issue, and they're like, "Come back tomorrow, we'll have it set up." So we come back on the second day. They set us up, and we're able to go against each other. And it is a fight. It is fight night. We have like the lights. We have the music going. We don't actually have any of this, but it was fun. It was a blast. Me and Flair got to go against each other. They had pre-built decks for us. Flair used the cyborg style deck, I believe, the first day, and I used the samurai deck. And Flair wiped the floor with me. In fact, it got so bad that Flair actually traded some of his, I believe they called them destiny points.
No. You're on day 3.
No,
Day
I'm on day
2.
2.
No, day 2 they had it set up and Flared was getting money for all of his. And he eventually realized that he was supposed to be going for victory points, but he was doing money the whole time. And then you came in with a card and took out one of his people, and they had it set to where first kill won. That was day 2.
Yeah, but we played 2 games that day.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, the first game we played, and it was first person to lose, a person loses, right? So I took out his person, and I won that match. But we played again with the same decks right
Yes.
after that, and did like a 45-minute game.
Yes.
So
But
anyway,
he didn't trade any of his points to you that day. That
Yes,
was
he
the third
did.
day. That
no,
was the
he
third
did.
day. I
He-
have it on camera.
He had like 60 points, and he traded them
No.
to me because I had
No.
nothing I could do anyway. So
That
he
was day
traded me the
3.
points, and I tried to play. I played like all of my. He still wiped me out, and I lost. So that was it for that day. Day 3, we came back, and they had a new deck set up, and I picked that deck. So we only played one game on the last day, and I smoked Flared because I had this deck that they took from their top player.
Yes, but you also ran out of the money that allowed you to make moves that day, and he had like 15 with no victory points, and he couldn't do anything with them because he had no cards. So he traded them to you. He was winning on day 3 and traded you points to let you play, and you ended up coming back and beating him.
That was on day 2. That
That
was
was
our
day
day
3.
2 match.
That was
Promise,
day
that was
3.
our day 2 match.
Look it up.
I will look it up because the
Look it
day
up.
3 match was very competitive. We didn't trade our destiny points at all, and I ended up
Yes, you
beating
did.
him.
I videoed it.
I know. I know you videoed it, and I promise you that I won day 3.
You
Because
did win day 3. I'm not saying you didn't win, but that's the day he traded you destiny points.
No, it was day 2 because he literally kept extending the match as far as he could go and just kept extending it. And I had 0 destiny points and I
No,
was
because
nowhere close to winning.
day 3 he traded you all of his destiny points and allowed you to win, and then he had no destiny points, so Justin keyed in a code and gave him unlimited destiny points with no moves, and then the very next move that you got, you beat him, so he didn't even get a chance to play any of his cards because he didn't have any moves.
Yeah,
That
but
was
I
day
was
3.
beating him the entire game, is what I mean, because I had that Festering Wounds card. So there's a Festering Wounds card in this game where if you injure the other person, any of his characters, and they have any wound whatsoever, you can play a Festering Wounds card and it kills every character on the field that has a wound.
Yeah.
So that's what I did was I let him get like 4 or 5 enemies lined up and I would wound each one of them. And then I would play the Festering Wounds and I'd wipe the board. And that's how I was just destroying him on day 3 of the game.
Yes.
On day 2, I had no chance at all. He took out my best character that I drew immediately. I think I ended up that game with 5 victory points, maybe. Meanwhile, he had like 19 or 18, and then he traded me destiny points, and I still lost because I couldn't come back. I was way too far behind.
I don't remember him trading you destiny points on day 2, but we'll go with it.
He gave me
Sure.
like 60 something destiny points, and he still beat me with the 5 or whatever that I had. Because I had no characters on the field at all.
We'll go with that.
Anyway, so that's Doomtrooper. Doomtrooper was fun. I guess let me explain the game a little bit. Basically, it's a card game. You play the cards. These cards have a strength value, they have a shoot value, and they have a defense value. Basically, your shoot and your attack value, you choose whether you want to shoot or attack the enemy that you're attacking. And then the defense value, as long as your defense is higher, you should come out of the battle okay. If your attack is higher than their defense, you should wound the other player. From what I understand, the combat is a little complex because there's 3 values, but that's the basics. If you can get over their defense, you can wound them. However, they can wound you back. So if their attack is higher than your defense, when you attack them, you can wound each other in the battle, basically. So it is an interesting game. There's also mid-combat when the 2 enemies are fighting. You can play like a card that surprises your opponent that will up your strength by 5 or something like that and give you an advantage to take them out. I remember at one point, Flared had a card that should have wiped me out. He had like 2 or 3 shoot points above me, but I had a card in my hand that was called something artillery, airborne artillery or something like that. Anyway, I played that and it gave me +5, I believe, to my shoot points, and I ended up wounding him instead. So it was a really interesting game.
They also had some neat cards, like the suicide bomb card that he had on him for that one when you attacked and y'all both died, and you were like, "How did I die? When did I lose these 2 other people?" And you didn't notice until like 3 rounds later.
Yes,
And it was because he had suicide bombs on all of his guys that were low value.
Yes, that was on. I believe that was the day two match when I
Yeah,
was getting
that was
destroyed.
pretty good strategy on his part.
I didn't realize what that card did. I saw that he played it on his character. I'm like, I don't know what that does. So I just kind of moved on. Well, whenever I got you basically have one really, really high level guy in your deck.
Yeah,
And whenever you play that guy, you can kind of build him up with additional cards. Well, I had him pretty close to maxed out, and I was ready to just run through his team. The first dude I attacked apparently had a suicide bomb vest on and just wiped my dude out immediately. So yeah, that's the game that I got way behind on, and he traded me his destiny points, and I still had no chance to come back and win because I didn't have anybody out. He literally had taken all of my guys down with him. Yeah, it's a fun game. It is a fun game. I'm not one that is into card games, but I'm into this game. This is the only game that while
it
we
was
were at PAX South, we pre-ordered.
it was the only type of card game that you like because there was also strategy to the card game. It wasn't just based off of the draw, and like it had a lot more strategy to it than just, oh, I have these cards.
That and it's one attack per turn. So like I've tried to
Yeah.
get into Hearthstone before, and people um they always kind of praise Hearthstone as being this great card game, but Hearthstone you can kind of just overwhelm your the person you're playing against and end the game
Right.
super quick.
And that wasn't
This
the case
game,
with Doomtrooper.
no, you can only attack once per turn. So there's no overwhelming, it's a strategy and it's a long match. Like
45 minutes at
yeah,
least.
our third game, which was probably the most competitive of all of them that we played because
the
I had the really overpowered deck and
the camera overheated on that match. I couldn't record anymore because the camera physically would not.
yeah. It
It had been going too long.
it was probably a 45-minute game. I ended up winning, but it's a long game, but it's a
Yeah.
fun game and I enjoy it. I
It was
really
probably
liked it.
closer to an hour that day. That was a very long match.
Yeah, even with me being able to wipe off his entire board with festering
Yeah.
wounds, he
He
was
still
still
had
able
little
to.
things that were able to come back with all his extra strategy cards, and it was very fun to watch.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy to this game. I really really liked it, um, and I really really liked the developers. I liked Justin. I liked I forget what the lady's name that was there was.
I don't remember her name.
I'm in their Discord server. Hold on, let me get her. Let me get her
I'm
name because she
also
was really nice as well.
I also joined their Discord,
I don't see her there.
and so did Flared. We all three joined it.
I don't know. There's Justin. That's the developer.
Yeah.
I don't see her. I don't remember her name though off the top of my head. But she was really nice as well. All of the developers for this game were actually really nice people. Every time we came up, wanted to play the game, they were like, "Yeah, we'll whenever everybody's done playing and both seats are open, y'all can jump in and we'll set it up to go against each other again." And we enjoyed it. We loved it. Great game.
It was awesome. They enjoyed having y'all there as well because while y'all were playing, you drew an audience with like 10 or 15 people standing behind you at one point just watching, and all of the yelling y'all were doing back and forth. They were like, "Oh, this is more than just some cards." Like they were actually interested in it. So it was really cool to watch everybody watching y'all.
Yeah, me and Flared were yelling at each other and talking smack the entire time that we were playing, and that made it
Oh
even
yeah.
more fun. So yeah, that is Doom Trooper. Really like the game. Highly recommend you at least checking it out. I
Yeah,
think
the
it's worth
devs
it.
were super cool people. They even got in on the smack talk with y'all. It was really fun.
Yeah,
Highlight of the games was Doom Trooper for sure.
yeah. This would be my top pick for the games at PAX South 2020
Definitely.
because it was just it was a fun game. It was a fun environment, and more than just like sometimes whenever you're at these events, you have to look past more than just the game, which the game is solid, and I really enjoyed the game. But you have to look
Yeah.
past that and the people who are running the booth. How are the devs? How do they treat you? Are they really cool, interesting people? And they are. Justin and all of them. They were really.
Tyler with the pins.
That was funny. Yeah, we had a fun time at that booth. I enjoyed that booth. Past just the game being good, the people there were really cool,
Yeah.
and I liked it. I thought that it was the best. Uh,
I would say we easily spent 6 hours at that booth throughout the 3 days. Easily.
yeah, that's another thing that I really want to mention during this segment as well is at PAX South. Usually, the bigger and bolder and more grand the
Mhm.
booth is, the better the game is. I
These
would
guys had a
say
10 by 10 booth. They had the smallest booth there.
I would say that most of the really great games, all the great games that I loved were not at these huge
No,
booths.
they were
Probably the
not.
only booth that was massive that I thought the game was really good was a game that's already been out, Brawlhalla. Brawlhalla had a massive booth. They were actually having like this they were having
Tournament
this
type thing.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
basically if you could beat the developer or land a hit on the developer, you would get a pin or something.
A pin or a t-shirt, I don't
Yeah.
know.
It was
It
like
was
if you beat the developer, you get a t-shirt. If you can hit the developer, you get a pin or something
it
like
was
that.
way too many people for me to go over there. I didn't wanna stand anywhere near. I'm not didn't wanna be in that big of a crowd.
But Brawlhalla's been out before and it's a good
Yeah.
game. They had a huge booth. Other than that, I guess Tiny Build had a big booth. They had some interesting like let's call them gimmicky games
Yeah.
that were there, which is kind of what Tiny Build's known for. So I'm not gonna bash them on that for any reason, but I would say most of the really interesting, unique games all came from smaller booths. They weren't these massive booths with huge advertisements on the side.
No,
It was people that put love into their game, not love into the ads. That's how
absolutely.
I'll put it. So that is Doom Trooper.